Good morning, Year 3. Right then, so let's get started on our next set of math lessons. We are carrying on with our addition and subtraction. Another week of practice this week before we get on to some application next week. So let's get going. So if you want to pause here and just give yourself a reminder, this is the same that I've shown you before, but it's just there to refresh your memory about our method for addition. So if you want to pause here, you can have a quick look at those. And again, here is our little reminder about our subtraction. So again, if you want to pause, have a little refresh of our strategy for this. Okay, so today we are adding two 3-digit numbers and we will be crossing both tens or hundreds, so it depends on our question. So for our first question, you are going to complete the column additions. So your first one is 235 add 157. Now you've got your place value chart there with your base 10 in, so you can use that to help you by counting up, crossing out and exchanging, or if you want to, you can just have a go at doing our column method like we spent our time practicing recently. So remember, we always start with our ones, so start with the ones, add 5 and 7, what answer do you get, and so on. Remember, if you are carrying, a clear number needs to go in the bottom down here underneath that line, so it's nice and clear that you have carried and exchanged some tens across or some hundreds. Okay, so B, you've got 372, add 144. So again, you can use your place value chart to help you to add, or you can just get straight on and have a go at your column method. Again, remember, start with your ones, make sure your carrying is nice and clear. Okay, for question 2 then. So it says, tick the additions that need an exchange of ones for a 10. So what you might want to do for this, you could work them out, or you might just want to have a little look. You could label these A, B, and C, so you can just say which one you would have to exchange ones for a 10, or you could write down the question. It's up to you how you want to set that one out. So have a look at your ones column, think which ones, how do you know which one of those or which ones of those will need an exchange? So then the next part says, how do you know if an addition needs to exchange 10 ones for a 10? So if you've worked out your first bit up here, you've worked out which ones will need an exchange, and then down here, you need to write a short sentence just saying how you know, what you need to look for in the ones column to show me if it's going to end up needing you to exchange some of those ones for 10. Okay, number 3. So Danny uses counters to represent an addition. So here is your addition. So what addition is Danny trying to work out? So all you have to do here is just write out that addition. So what this number is here in this row, and then what this number is here in this row, and they are being added together. So write down whatever that addition is, and then work out the answer to the addition and check how many exchanges did you have to do. Did you have to exchange just once, either from the ones to the tens or from the tens to the hundreds, or did you have to do 2 where you would have to go from ones to tens and tens to hundreds? So it's 1 or 2 exchanges. Question number 4 then. So here you've just got 4 questions for you to have a go at. Your first 2 are set out in column method already. Your next 2 are just in a number sentence, so you need to think, do I need to set out into column method? You probably do. So make sure if you do that your digits line up. So your 8 is below your 8, your 0 is below your 1, and your 1 is below your 7, or that the 4 is below the 6, the 9 is below the 2, and the 2 is below the 5. So make sure they line up properly, just like these ones do. For this one here, you'll notice that it's got the M after the number, so that means we're working with meters. So your answer also needs to have the M to show that the answer is in meters as well. So whenever we see a unit like this or something telling us what we're measuring in, be it grams or meters or whatever it might be, you need to make sure you put that there to complete your answer. Okay, so for question 5, the first part says tick the additions with an answer that ends in a 0. So to solve this one, to have a look at each of these 6 additions even, good as me. So have a look at each of these additions, have a look at the number in your ones column and think, right, if I added these together, what would those 2 digits add up to? Okay, so have a go through each of them and see which ones would give you a 0 So you're thinking which of these two numbers would add up to what would be a 10. Okay, so you're trying to make 10 with your ones column. Once you've done that, it says, did you have to work out all of the additions? So do you have to do a full column addition for each of these questions, or can you just look at them and see? And for part C, this is complete the sentences. The answer to 175 plus 212 ends with A. So what will be in the ones column for that calculation? And the next one says that the answer to 609 plus 175 ends with A. So again, what digit would be in the ones column if you were adding those two numbers together? Carry on with question 5. So the answer to 334 plus 178 ends with A. So same thing again. If you added those two numbers together, what would be in your ones column? So you only really need to look at the ones column in this. You don't need to look at the rest of the question. And finally, the answer to 716 add something ends with a 3. So you need to think carefully now, what would I add to a 6 to get a 3? So think about that, we would have to do an exchange. So really you're thinking about what would I add to a 6 to get to 13? Because we're going to add until we get to the next number, which ends in a 3. Number 6. So, a little bit tricky this time. You need to have a really good think about these. You've got some missing digit questions. So you need to have a look and see what numbers you would add together to find your missing digit. So here, I'm starting with a 2, and my answer is a 7. So I need to think in here, what could I add to a 2 to get a 7? And then write that number in there. Then here, I've got something add 5 equals 3. Now, 5 is bigger than 3. That tells me this number is going to mean that we have to do an exchange so that this number would actually be 13 effectively. So it'd be 5 add something equals 13. So what would need to go there? And again, I've got 3 add 4. But remember, we've just said we've probably had to do an exchange here. So you might have something over here that you've had to exchange. So think carefully about these questions. They are quite tricky and you do have to try and work it out. And you might want to check afterwards. So once you've filled in these two digits, it would be really good if you then worked out the answer to whatever two numbers you've put together here and ignore this for the time being. And once you've worked out this part of adding those two numbers together, check if your answer matches this one. If it does, fantastic, you've done it right. If it doesn't, you'll then have to go back and have a think about, have you put the right digits in here? What should they be instead? A little bit of trial and error if you get it wrong first time. But don't worry about it, it's quite tricky. Again, have a go. This one down here, you'll see we've gone into the thousands. It makes no difference to our method, it's just adding on an extra column, so don't panic when you come to this question. Number 7. Dexter bakes 148 biscuits on Monday. On Tuesday, he bakes 273 more biscuits than he did on Monday. How many biscuits does Dexter bake on Tuesday? Now, you need to read this carefully and think, Dexter bakes that many on Monday and then he bakes that many more on Tuesday. So is it saying that you're adding these two together, or is it saying you need to do something different? So think carefully about what you need to do for that question. Again, you'll have to do a column method to work that out because it's some quite big numbers you're working with. Then B says, how many biscuits does he bake in total on Monday and Tuesday? So once you've got that first answer for A, you then need to add that answer to 148. Question 8 says, write down 2 addition calculations that have 1 exchange and 2 exchanges. Compare your answers with a partner. So for that one, you can compare your answer or ask someone to check to see if you have done it right with 1 exchange or 2 exchanges. So I might do something really simple like 26 add 37. So that would have 1 exchange in the ones column. And for my next one, I'd have to do a 3-digit number or 2 quite big 2-digit numbers to do an exchange there. So I could do 99 add 88 would give me 2 exchanges. So have a think about how you could do that one. There's loads and loads of different answers for that one. So you'd need someone to check that for you. Okay, it is time for our answers. So hopefully you've had a go at those. If there's any that you've missed, try quickly going back, have a little bit of a practice again, and just check through your answers. Make sure you've written that something down for each of them before you move on. Okay, so I will let you have a little look at those. So So those are your first few answers. Okay, next page. So for this one down here, for B, you shouldn't have had to work out all of the additions. You shouldn't have had to write down this full column method and work out. You should be able to see that you've got 7 and 3, and you know 7 and 3 is 10. Here you should know that 5 and 5 is 10. This one, well, 4 and 2 would be 6, so it's definitely not going to be that one. 6 and 4 is 10, again, so that one's right. 0 and 7 would be 7, so that one wouldn't be 1. And here you've got 1 and 9, so these ones you can look at just the ones column. You can add those numbers in your head. We all know our number bonds to 10. And you should be able to know that these are number bonds to 10. Okay, again, so this one, look, if you have had a go at these, so as we said before, this one, we know that something add on to 2 would be 7, so, well, 5, so 2 and 5 is 7. This one, as I said before, so because this 5 is bigger than the 3, we know we're going to have to go into an exchange, so that would be 13. So 5 add 8 would be 13. So again, you've got that exchange down there. And then you're thinking, well, 3 add 4 would be 7, but you must remember you've got that exchange down there, so it's 8. Okay, right, so as I said for the last one, you can ask an adult to check that one or someone else to check that one for you, or you can send me a little picture of your last bit of work or your work from today, and I can have a check for you on that question. I hope you've done all right with this one, a little bit more to think about on some of these questions, a little bit more problem solving. So yeah, I will see you again on Wednesday for another math video. Bye.